video to stop comparing yourself to others. And this video was actually highly requested when I was talking to people about my other coffee talk video and about what advice or like topics they'd like to hear covered in the future. That being said, for all my coffee talk videos, I just want to make it clear that I'm imagining like we're sitting down and actually having coffee together and talking about these issues. Not that I'm just here to give you advice. Like, it's more like we're talking about our life and our thoughts on these topics. I definitely don't have all the answers, and I don't want anybody to think that I'm just up here like on my soapbox. I still struggle with all of these things, but I just want to share what has helped me. Along those lines, if you could leave a comment down below with any ideas that I have missed or anything that you took away from this video or anything that has helped you stop comparing yourself to others. And in your comment, let me know if this is even something you struggle with, because while I tend to feel like everybody struggles with it, and I think that that's like a little bit evident in the fact that this video was requested so many times, I also think that we all have a tendency to feel like it's a very private, internal thing that other people don't deal with. The first thing that I have realized that I think it's important to know right off the bat is that all comparison basically comes from insecurity within yourself, whether it's comparison of your looks or your job or your popularity, whatever it is, it all comes from you yourself being insecure about those things. If you're confident in how you look, you're not sitting there worried about what somebody else looks like. You're confident in what you're doing job-wise and where you are, you're not contrasting it against people that you feel like are further along than you. If you're confident that you're doing your best to be in shape and you're doing a great job at the gym and giving it your all every time you go, you're not sitting there wishing that you were somebody else. If you're confident in your personality and your friend groups, you're not sitting there comparing yourself to somebody else who you think is more popular. So the biggest thing that you can do to stop comparing yourself to others is to actually address those insecurities and build up your own self-esteem. I'm going to be doing a whole other video on how to build up self-esteem and confidence. It's too much to put into this same video, but basically looking for ways to do that will help you so much with comparing yourself to others. If you have any kind of spiritual side, I feel like this applies. And this is probably the single biggest thing that's ever helped me, which is to trust and have faith that God, and you can insert like the universe or fate or whatever you believe in, but that has a plan for you and that you the way that you are on purpose. You to look and act exactly the way that you do. And of course, we all have a natural drive to want to be the best version of ourselves, and that's great. But you should keep it within what you've been given. I saw a post made by an Instagram friend that I have, and her handle is Jaida. I'll leave her whole Instagram links down below. And she made a post that said, "Isn't it kind of weird to think that God created your face specifically the way He wanted it to be, down to the very freckle? He wanted it to be the way that it is, to attract the very person who has been chosen to be your spouse." And I just loved this post so much. It really stuck with me, and it's something that I think about when I catch myself comparing myself to other people. Other people are beautiful, and you are beautiful because God or fate has made you that way. It's amazing and reassuring, and if I catch myself like wishing I had different features or anything like that, it's something that I remind myself of. And I think that's true with everything that we compare ourselves to others on. Like if you think that somebody is further down in a career path than you, well, maybe a small amount of competition can be a good thing because it could inspire you to take action. If it's making you unhappy, then you should change it. And if it's making you feel miserable or worthless, it isn't healthy. So I'm studying neuroscience and genetics right now, as most of you know, and that whole field can be such a competitive environment in which everybody's comparing themselves to others and struggling with it. People are getting into med school or getting publications or getting awards, and everybody else starts to feel like, yeah, that's great for you, but also, oh my gosh, what am I doing? If you can have faith that God or the universe has a plan for you and that you're exactly where you're meant to be, it will take away so much of that anxiety. I'm happy for you is another huge one for me. This is something I picked up from my aunt. She's a great influence and gives great life advice, and this is something she says a lot. She says you should focus on the feelings of happiness you have for that person who gets to experience that thing that's making you jealous. For example, when someone else gets into a program that you wanted to get into or something like that, it's so toxic to have feelings of jealousy, even though that's so normal in our society. But you'd be so much happier and healthier if instead you're able to put yourself in their shoes and imagine how excited you would be if you had just gotten into that program. Imagine how happy you'd be if you were them, and then just be happy with them. Think about a friend that you have that it always feels like you're in competition with. Every time you have good news to share, they either have to bring up their own better thing that happened, or they try to tear down the good thing that you had happen. Unfortunately, I think almost all of us have had a friend like this at one point or another. No matter how much you love that friend, you come away from the situation feeling icky. And now compare that to how you feel when you have a friend who, when you have good news, they meet you with that much or more excitement and happiness. Someone who is genuinely happy for you and proud of you for succeeding. That person is the person that you're going to want to share news with, and the person who makes you feel good. And you can absolutely train yourself to be that friend no matter how much you struggle with jealousy or comparison. And by the way, one of my biggest revelations lately has been that it takes two to compete. So if you have a competitive friendship, that's a little bit on you too. I would have all these competitive friends and I would be so frustrated until I realized that I was engaging just as much as they were. If you have a friend who's acting like that, then they're insecure, and that is something that you should have compassion for them for. And while I'm not saying that you should let people treat you badly, there is a certain aspect where if you have a friend that you love, then it will be really helpful for you to be secure enough in your own self to not engage. You should always seek internal sources of validation rather than external. This is so hard, it's something I still struggle with a lot, but it's probably one of the most important steps as well. And the thing is that you have to be basically unaffected by other people's opinions, both the good and the bad. Because as soon as you need to feel good and secure by other people, you're subject to noticing how much external validation somebody else is getting, and naturally you're going to compare it. And I think that this is especially common when it comes to looks. If other people aren't telling you that you're pretty, how will you know that you're pretty? You have to answer that question for yourself and ask yourself what you can change about your thoughts and perceptions to have that come from somewhere inside you, as corny as that might sound. And to find yourself beautiful no matter what other people think, whether they agree or disagree. This is an interesting tip that I got from my therapist about anxiety that was so eye-opening and like game-changing for me that I wanted to put it in here. And I highly recommend it to anybody else who struggles with feelings of comparison or anxiety or anything like that. And that is to do cognitive restructuring therapy. And by the way, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is like completely one of the highest recommended and best evidence-based treatments for anxiety and depression. So I'll leave a link down below if I can find a free version of the form that I use. And if you think it would help you, print it out and do this exercise anytime you notice that you're starting to compare yourself to others. You'll realize how much more deep-seated your problems are and the roots that need to be addressed before you can stop feeling this way. You'll be writing, I think this girl's prettier than me, and before you know it, you're writing out your worst-case scenario in which everyone you care about is abandoning you and hating you because you're not pretty enough. And replace that with successful, funny, popular, etc. This will help you shed light on the real reasons why you seem to need to compare yourself to others and why it gives you such negative feelings to see someone who you think is doing better than you are. Lastly, I just want to mention that in order to stop comparing yourself to others in a negative way, you have to stop comparing yourself to others in a positive way too. So what I mean by that is you can't sit there and reassure yourself that you're so much smarter or more successful than somebody else and expect to stop feeling bad about yourself when you see someone else that you think is better than you. Not only is it just really mean to sit there and think that you're better than somebody else, it also is setting you up for unhappiness just by having such mean thoughts. And it affects how you think other people are thinking about you. When you go around thinking that other people are beneath you, of course you're gonna think that people are thinking that about you, or that there are people who are above you because you're just on a scale, when really we're all doing our own thing. There is no scale. Everyone is doing their best and everyone has different life experiences. And if you're judging them for their position in life, then you are gonna feel like everyone is judging you too. So much of our life is our own perceptions, and this is no exception to that. So if you change your thoughts, you're gonna change what you see happening around you. Okay, that's all for today, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this coffee talk. This was an important one for me because it's still something that I struggle with, so I hope that it was something that was helpful for you guys as well. If you did enjoy it, please give me a thumbs up, and again, comment down below and tell me if you agree with all of these, or if you disagree, or if you have any different advice. I just think it'd be really great to get a conversation going, especially because this is something that so many of us think about but keep inside. I hope you're having an amazing day. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.